Good evening. My name is Vince Noblet, President of the Speedway Town Council. Today is September 25th, 2023. It is 7 p.m. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm going to go ahead and start off introductions. On my far right, our town manager, Grant Kleinhens.
Good evening.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Yeah. Next to Grant, on his left, Councilor Eileen Fisher.
Good evening.
On my immediate right, Councilor David Lindsay.
Good evening.
Far left, our town lawyer, Bob Clutter.
Evening.
Next to Bob is our town clerk treasurer, Philip Faust.
Good evening.
Next to Philip is town councilor, Gary Rakes.
Hello.
And on my immediate left is our vice president, Gary Pedigo.
Hello.
So first thing on the agenda is minutes, the approval of these minutes. We have already disseminated the minutes as presented. If there's no changes or corrections, we'll approve them as submitted. Hearing no changes, they're approved. Next is the approval of an engagement letter from Barnes & Thornburg. Philip?
Good evening. Thank you. This engagement letter would allow us to hire Barnes & Thornburg as bond counsel on a bond that we are potentially going to issue later this year with an eye towards using that funding for street improvements. That has been included in a budget that we're going to discuss later this evening, but it only allows us to start the process. It doesn't obligate you to adopt that bond.
Okay. May I have a motion?
Mr. President, I move that we approve the engagement letter with Barnes & Thornburg as presented by our clerk treasurer.
Second.
Okay, I get a motion and a second. I'll open up for discussion. Any questions for Philip concerning the letter for Barnes & Thornburg? Hearing none, I'm going to go ahead and call for a vote. All those in favor of submitting approval of an engagement letter from Barnes & Thornburg, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Okay, next up is ordinance 1381. It's the approval of the 2024 budget with the civil town of Speedway. First reading. I'll go ahead and call for an opening of the public hearing. It is 7:03 p.m. I want to open it up. Please step forward and just state your name and address if you have any comments to make concerning the ordinance 1381. Seeing that nobody is approaching the podium, I'm going to go ahead and close at 7:04 p.m. Okay, I'm going to go ahead on 1381.
Wait a second. We need to have a
You get a
motion. I'll make
motion?
a-
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve ordinance number 1381, which is the approval of the 2024 budget for the town of Speedway, first reading.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. So I'll open up for discussions. Is there any discussion in relationship to the 2024 budget for the civil town of Speedway?
I just have, well, either Philip or Grant, if you can kind of discuss briefly what it's about. I mean, I know this has been going on for several months. just kind of explain what this is and what all we're
Sure.
approving and very briefly, kind of the work that went behind it. to
Sure,
where we're
yeah.
at Today.
So as you know, annually, we have to put together a budget for next year and have it adopted by October the 31st. So with that process in mind, we start working with department heads on revenue estimates as well as expenditure predictions or projections at the end of May, 1st of June. We met with the town council at the end of, I can't even remember when it was now, it was in July. In mid-July, we had 3 nights of meetings, presented those budgets to you. We identified what we wanted to accomplish. We had some goals and objectives that we were trying to meet. Presented those budgets to you. You guys had some input and comments. We've made some minor adjustments to those amounts up to this point. And tonight, what you're being asked to approve here is that general tax budget, which includes multiple funds, and Philip can speak to those funds probably better than myself, but the general fund, our various debt service, our pensions, local road and street, motor vehicle highway, et cetera, are listed and noted on this budget ordinance. Tonight's the first reading with a public hearing. I think we then have to have a second reading on October the 9th, correct, Philip?
That's right.
And then it must be entered into the gateway and submitted to the state by October the 31st. So we'll get that all wrapped up, and once that's adopted and there's no issues or objections, then that will be our set budget for the following year. One thing I would say is that the difficulty in putting a budget together is you never know what the economic conditions necessarily are going to be next year. So we revenue estimate typically very conservatively, and we try to over budget for expenditures to try to make sure that we are not putting ourselves into a corner. I think we do a good job of that. Typically, we never spend more than 90% of our adopted budgets, and we ultimately get a little more revenue annually, so we keep adding to that bottom line. Our general fund has an excess of $7 million, or near $7 million, and that comes from good stewardship, making sure we're appropriately spending those dollars, and some luck, getting more revenue than expected, et cetera. So I think on behalf of all the department heads, the boards and commissions, we worked hard to put this together. We appreciate your input and thought, and we would recommend approval of this budget so that we can get on the road to 2024. I'll answer any other specific questions you might have.
Sure.
Not so much a question, just a comment. I appreciate the transparency that you've put into this budget process. From the very beginning, you made it clear to the public what your intentions were for pursuing this, the department heads and their staff doing what they've done to help prepare for this. We had a couple of nights of open meetings. We had a few residents come and talk. I just appreciate the way you've handled the budget this year.
Okay, good.
So I think I'd say a few things as the financial officer. Housekeeping matters are that these were advertised on September 13th and 14th. That goes for 1381 through 1384. The public is invited to see those notices, including details about the budgets at any time at www.budgetnotices.in.gov. Additionally, you can see not just budgets for the town of Speedway, but for any taxing unit by your address that applies to you. You can set up alerts so that you receive updates as there are changes throughout the year. This will be our first reading and the public hearing. The second reading will be October 9th at 7 p.m. I did want to thank Grant and all the department heads for I think what was a very detailed process that we went through. As a brand new clerk treasurer, it was very helpful to me that they were willing to field a lot of detailed questions, as some of you have maybe seen before from me. So I'm very appreciative of that. We also employed Crow to help us with the projections, particularly I think as Grant alluded to, the revenue projections are not as set in stone as someone would like. So that takes us beyond just property taxes, but looking at various different revenues that include permits, various fees, income tax, All of these gas tax are variable and very difficult to predict with any certainty. I'll note that for the public that this budget that we're talking about right now, 1381, does not include the enterprises, so does not include water, does not include sewer, also doesn't include the redevelopment commission. Gentlemen, if you're able to put up the slide now. I think this is the only graphic that I'm going to impose upon you because I think it shows two different concepts that I'd like to share, which is we talk about budgeting as sort of a way to organize our values and show what we're committed to here. And I think you can see between fire and police that our commitment to public safety is shown in our budget year over year. And then when we get to the next ordinance, 1382, I think you'll see the other big item, which is schools, which is in excess of $30 million budget. This also shows you year over year, so you can see we made some differences in emphasis over time or as different projects have come off or on. The facilities budget didn't even used to exist, and now that one has gone up as we've tried to prioritize things that really should have fallen under that anyways, to make that clearer. That's all I have with regards to 1381. Would appreciate a yes vote on that, and happy to answer any other specific questions.
Does council have any questions for?
I kind of jumped the gun earlier. I appreciate all the detail you just provided as well. I'm sure the other councilors do too, but you've asked lots of great questions. It's nice to have new eyes and ears on in your role, and you've done a good job with this as well, so thank you.
Okay, and if there's no other questions or comments, I'm going to go ahead and call for a vote of ordinance 1381. This is the first reading. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Ordinances pass 5-0. Next item on the agenda is ordinance 1382. It's approval of the 2024 budget for the schools, town of Speedway. This is again the first reading. And go ahead and
Well, you're going to open a public hearing, right?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and open up a
Before I make
public
a
hearing.
motion?
Yes. It's 7:13. If there's anybody in the audience that would like to speak to the budget concerning the schools, please step forward and state your name and address. Seeing that nobody is interested in coming up, go ahead and close the public hearing at 7:14. Close enough. And go ahead and
No, Mr. President, I'd like to make that motion that we approve ordinance number 1382, which is the approval of the 2024 budget for the school town of Speedway, again for the first reading.
I'll second.
Okay, I got a motion and a second, so I'd like to open it up to any questions or concerns on ordinance 1382.
Again, I think the schools, they and all other departments came in front of the council on two different evenings. As Philip described, their budget is in excess of $32 million, and that number's been a consistent number in terms of students served and as a percentage and so forth. But the thing I'm still amazed by is how little debt our schools have. They're able to work with buildings that are approaching, I don't know, the junior high was in the 40s, late 40s, probably the oldest building we have now. And maybe it amazes me that they're able to do that. And I think they do a fantastic job. Obviously, they were rated best high school in the state, best public high school in the state a couple weeks ago, and there's just continued great things. So that's it.
Any other comments or concerns? I think, also it's good to note the fact that the referendum, you're talking about 6.7 million. I mean, that's indicative. It tells, I think it tells everyone how important our schools are to this town, and the type of teachers and staff that we have that manages those schools. Again, the education amount is 18.9 million. Operations, 4,000,006. To what you just said, Gary, I think they reinvest in handling concerns concerning the building.
And what was reported is the referendum dollars are all going towards staff.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. Okay, if there's no other questions or comments, I'm going to go ahead and call for a vote. All those in favor of ordinance 1382 as submitted to the town on the first reading, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next item on the agenda is ordinance 1383. It's the approval of the 2024 budget for the Speedway Public Library. This is again the first reading. I'll go ahead and open up public hearing on it. It is 7:16. Those in favor of speaking to that, please step forward and state your name and address. Are you sure you don't want to talk, Darcy?
Answer questions.
Okay, thank you. All right, seeing that nobody wants to speak to the council in relationship, it's 7:18. I go ahead and close it at that time. So I would
Mr.
like to.
President, I make a motion, we approve ordinance 1383 on first reading this evening.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Go ahead and open up any comments or questions concerning the budget.
Just like to thank the members of our library board for being here this evening, and their attendance. Thank you.
And their continued good
Absolutely.
works.
Yeah,
And the golf cart, the,
the
Carts.
what's it called?
Book cart.
book card.
Yes, sorry, I had it wrong. The book cart drill team was amazing, Darcy, as always.
I think we always look forward to that. And you guys had a workout. It was hot, and it's a long way to push a cart. The library's not that big, that's several times around it. You have to start working out earlier on it, I think.
We have practices in the high school parking lot.
Yeah, there
Oh, yeah?
there you go.
They train, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Don't do that naturally.
Well, that's good to know. That's good to know. So if there's no other comments or questions, I'm going to go ahead and call for a vote. All those in favor of ordinance 1383, approval of the 2024 budget for the Speedway Public Library, please signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carries 5-0. Okay, next on the agenda is ordinance 1384. It's approval of the 2024 budget for the Speedway Public Transportation. This is the first reading also. We'll go ahead and opening public hearing. It is 7:19. And seeing that there's nobody here to speak to that, I'm going to go ahead and close it at 7:20.
Mr. President, I make a motion, we approve ordinance 1384 on first reading this evening.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. I'm going to go ahead and open it up for any discussion concerning the budget for the Transportation Committee.
If you want to know what this board does, just go around the community, drive around, and you'll see the speed signs and the new sidewalks that have been done near bus stops. They've done a really great job over the past couple of years of reinvesting that money into our town, so
Absolutely noted.
appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, that group has added a lot to the town, and it's much appreciated.
You can't get away from those speed monitoring signs now. They're everywhere.
It's a good thing.
It is.
I mean,
Absolutely.
so if there's no other comments or questions, we can go ahead and call for a vote. All those in favor of ordinance 1384, approval for the budget for the transportation, please signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. So, next up is approval of claims and utility adjustments. Philip?
Thank you. I have one adjustment for the period of September 8th to September 15th that I'm asking for your approval on. This was actually an error from our payment processor, putting payments on the wrong account, so now that that's been rectified, there should not be any late fees on the accounts that were not properly credited. And then I'm also asking for your approval of claims for the period of September 8th to September 25th, 2023, totaling $1,505,129.85.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the claims and utility adjustments as presented by our clerk treasurer.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. So I'll open up for discussion. Is there any questions for our town clerk treasurer concerning the claims and utilities?
One quick question. Philip, the top says through the 25th. Is that what the error you were speaking of? It's supposed to be through the 15th, correct?
Usually I have the dates line up from the adjustments and the claims, but I had the claims run to today, largely so that I know when to pick them up for next time, so that an electronic payment is handled correctly.
Any other discussions or questions? If not, I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor of approval of claims and utility adjustments as submitted by our town clerk treasurer, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next up, our town manager's report.
Yes, thank you. I have one item to report on this evening. That is our upcoming Community Day event, which will be this Thursday, September the 28th, from 5 to 7 p.m. in Leonard Park. This takes the place of our National Night Out Day. We kind of move it to the fall because of various reasons. Between May and August, our public safety forces work a lot with races. So we're doing that at the park. There's vendors. There are free hot dogs, chips. I think we're scooping ice cream that has been donated by local vendors. So great event. Leonard Park, if I didn't say that. Park on the street. Watch for children. Bring your family. Should be a great time. I'm sorry?
What time?
5 to 7.
5 to 7.
Yeah, last year we went to 8, but it got dark pretty quick, and we wanted to shut it down at 7 because people stay anyway. But it's a good event. Looking forward to
You
it.
can't go wrong. Hot dogs and ice cream?
Yeah.
Okay.
And chips. I think there's chips too.
That's dinner.
And you said the 28th?
Whatever this Thursday is, it's the 28th, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. 5 to 7, Leonard Park. That's all I have this evening. Thank you.
Okay. Next up is a report from our council members. Gary Pettico,
Nothing to report on.
except Eileen Fisher.
Yesterday, we had the community parade, the first event that we had, and there was a lot of excitement in town, and it really went off very well. And I have to commend Gina Grove, Lane Warner, Christina Young, and Melissa Cook, who all have been working on this for a little bit over a year. They did it put together a non-for-profit organization and raised some money and got a lot of people involved. And I think it was a very good attended event. So I'm very pleased with that. So kudos to them.
And it made the news this morning.
Yes, that too.
Absolutely. Councilor David Lindsay.
I'd just like to echo what Eileen said about the parade. It was nice to sit and view the parade. I enjoyed that, a part of it. So kudos to everyone behind that. It's a great event for the community. That's all I have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and jump in and
Sure,
concur.
Gary.
I'm glad you mentioned the names. I know that Vince had made an invitation to that committee, for the parade committee, to attend this evening. I think some or all of them were busy, so maybe the next meeting they can come.
They're
Yeah.
coming on October 9th.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or at least a majority of them will be here.
Absolutely.
That's great.
Probably
Yeah.
resting. I would have.
Yeah.
Well-deserved rest. So it was quite fun. I think I'm done.
Yeah. You sure? Okay. So next up is a report from Council President. I think, not only was the parade, a new event, I think it's setting precedent for the future. I think that we have a lot of great individuals within our community. Teachers were involved, and schools were involved. The high school football team, the soccer team, the girls' teams. I mean, this is a chance for them to really basically get out in front of the whole public of the town of Speedway. I think it's a good thing, that really brings together us as a community, from that standpoint. So I would definitely wholeheartedly support it next year, and we ought to make sure that, whatever route that they take, and it's, I also got to take and tip my hat for the police department. We took a lot, this is Sunday evening, and the Colts football game on, and we got enough officers out there to really, really protect all the people that we had involved. And by the way, it was a close game too at that point in time. We were going to delay opening of the parade, but it didn't make it. Couldn't get Gina to hold off. But it was a good thing. I thought the weather was great. We'll probably never get weather that nice. I mean, it was great to see that, and also good to see everybody out participating in it. So
I know I made my comment, but I wanted to just.
You wanted to come on.
No, there was some talk about this was the first town parade, and it wasn't. I think this was an advancement of what's been done in past years. I think we stopped just prior to COVID for good reason. And it's great to see this picked up and run with, and we look forward a couple of years to the town turning 100. What will that parade look like, or will it be two parades that year, or whatever it might be? But congrats to everybody. I think I heard the number 800 plus participants, and there had to be 1,000 or more people on the street. It was fantastic.
It was neat to have Doug Bowles there, walking and meeting the residents of our town. I know that as much traffic comes through here during all the races and events, that's good to see, a face behind those events taking place just a couple hundred feet to the east of us. And, I think that that's important. And I think it is also, there's, a lot of other people that do things behind the scenes to make these events pull off, not only from a police standpoint, but just, getting the kids there, the parents. I mean, that's a lot of movement of people back and forth between the starting location and the ending. And thank you, IMS, for allowing us to stage on lot, is it lot 2? I think it's lot 2.
It's 2.
And that's great. So given that, that's all I got to say at this point in time. So if there's any other, I'm going to go ahead and adjourn this meeting. It's 7:29.